Good evening and welcome to Focus on Education. This evening we have the pleasure of having Dr. Holly Cross here to talk to us a little bit about what are the paths for careers for the students, and in particular, what is TCAT and how does that tie into what the high school is doing, and how does that benefit the students going forward as they're looking for careers and trying to make decisions on what they'll do and how they'll do it. So, Dr. Cross, thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure.
Could you tell us what is your role here at the school?
Okay, so I have actually two roles. I'm supervisor of career and technical education and also of communications. So that first hat is what we're talking about today, the career and technical education. And we have 8 different career clusters that are represented here at the high school. Tonight we're going to talk specifically about those that are aligned with the Tennessee College of Applied Technology in Knoxville. We also have a nursing program that's aligned with the Tennessee College of Applied Technology in Harriman. So we work cooperatively with those institutions to offer dual enrollment opportunities for our students. Do you want me to go on with that?
Yes, well, we talked, luckily, about the dual enrollment opportunities for the students and the importance of getting a general idea of what you want to do, kind of at least test your hand a little bit on one career field or another. What opportunities specifically are currently here at the high school?
So with TCAT, we have dual enrollment with their automotive program, which is automotive maintenance and light repair,
okay.
Technically. And so they get the certification in automotive service excellence. And so we have Patrick Ledoux, who is paid partly by Tennessee College of Applied Technology Knoxville and partly by us, so that he can offer those early college experiences for the students. And in that class, they're learning hands-on automotive technician skills that will prepare them for the workplace. We also have an agreement between us and with the TCAT and Mercedes-Benz of Knoxville. So they actually have a very nice Mercedes test car for us to practice on here. As soon as they have that running, I'd like to drive it some. It's beautiful. And so the students get to practice those skills. And the ones that they have at Mercedes-Benz of Knoxville are very much in line with what Automotive Service Excellence offers in their certifications, but they're Mercedes specific. So we're looking at some Mercedes specific skills with those students as well. A neat thing that we have here at Oak Ridge that other people don't have in their automotive classes is also an aviation component. So students learn how to fly drones, they learn how to fly on a flight simulator, and they also have a 5-passenger airplane kit. So that's a conversation that we're continually having with the Tennessee College of Applied Technology, because they are also interested in eventually offering some sort of aviation programs in their campus as well. So we keep that conversation alive. I got to sit in a virtual meeting with Mayor Googe and our city manager, Mark Watson, with several people talking about the vision for an Oak Ridge airport. So we have not only the automotive working on that program, but also the aviation component. The other program that we have that other people, we like anything that we have that's first, right? So what Tennessee College of Applied Technology in Knoxville was finding is that their welding classes were overfull, and they needed an additional site to offer night classes. So in addition to offering dual enrollment to our high school students here during the day, so they get an early taste of what college life is like, specifically in the welding space, they have first rights at TCAT Knoxville to that wait list to take welding in the night class at our campus with our instructor and with Brent Lefew, who also teaches for the Tennessee College of Applied Technology. So our instructor teaches during the day and also at night.
That was the welding program has been here at the high school for quite some time, hasn't it?
It predates me,
Okay.
so decades.
Because I recall talking to other technicians and welders that were out at Y12, and they were saying, well, they teach at the high school. And I was saying, wow, that's great.
Right.
And as we look at the variety of programs that are available, I think it's critically important that students have at least a general idea of what types of programs are available to them here at the school. And interestingly enough, the TCAT centers practically surround now Oak Ridge. The latest center opening in Clinton, then you have one in Harriman, and of course the one in Knoxville.
Correct.
So there are plenty of places that you could take day or night classes depending, and the selection of courses are very important. I'm glad you mentioned the aviation program. That's a jewel of mine that I truly enjoyed. I got that by way of Navy, but my undergrad is in professional aeronautics.
Oh, nice.
So I understand the aviation programs where students could possibly, if enough wanted, to get a A&P license for airframes and power plants, or I noticed that there was a TCAT in Memphis that caters FedEx
Sure.
for avionics, for aviation electronics. So all of those are a multitude of different career fields that are available through TCAT.
You mentioned FedEx. I went to a tour of FedEx when I was in Memphis, and so what they have, we think we have a flight simulator. They have actual airplane innards, like a flight simulator for students to do. So we're working our way up toward something like FedEx, that experience for students as well.
So I think it's a perfect time to have that conversation of how can you tie all this together with the prospects of having an airport. A great example is in Somerset, Kentucky. The General Aviation Airport is right next to the community college, and they have a full aviation program for technicians and mechanics and pilots and so forth.
Right. So many careers are available in aviation.
So that is definitely a field that is continuing to grow by leaps and bounds. So what have you found to be one of the toughest obstacles, I guess, that you've had the hardest time trying to get over?
Well, I think TCAT took on a really important obstacle they were having, and that is they were called technical schools. And with the focus on college, they really wanted to let people know that they could have really high-paying, high-wage, high-skill jobs coming out of their programs. So they rebranded themselves as colleges. So when we talk about college, career, and technical education, we want students to also be thinking of TCATs as a college. TCATs as a pathway, what we like to call multiple points of entry and exit into workforce and education. So you could potentially, there's several different degrees I could talk about this with, but you could potentially go to a TCAT and get a welding degree, go out in the field and weld, and actually go back to somewhere like UT and get like a mechanical engineering degree with a welding emphasis, because welders are needed in the nuclear industry. They are needed in all different kinds of fields in the scientific field. So one of the things we were talking about today is that we think of a lot of times manufacturing as dirty jobs, but there are also a lot of clean manufacturing jobs and very, I want to say, like white collar manufacturing needs. And what we've heard from our white collar manufacturing is that students who have never gotten their hands dirty sometimes don't understand when they draw a conceptual drawing that the thing won't work because they haven't tried it with their hands. It looks good on paper and it might have drawn out nicely in a 3D drawing, but it won't work. And people who've worked with their hands understand that. So we love for our students to get their hands in the work and have hands-on experiences through TCAT that might lead them into the workforce and then back into education and then back into the workforce. We want students to know they have lots of options. And so that kind of communication is probably one of our biggest obstacles. When we went to NASA, we went to their advanced manufacturing unit when we were traveling to Marshall Space Flight Center with the RAMSAT program. When we came out of that manufacturing space, the guy there said, if you've got really good grades and you can weld, your application will go to the top of the stack at NASA. So this is the type of thing, we're trying to say college and career, because in our past, people have talked about college or career. And a lot of people also say, well, you don't have to go to college. Well, we like to say, you kind of do. You kind of need at least some sort of certificate that you can get from a Tennessee College of Applied Technology to earn the kind of money that supports your family. So we're really encouraging people to rethink what college means. It might mean university, but it should at least mean some sort of technical skill certificate so that you can make a good wage in high skill, high wage, high demand career for your future.
You make a good point, and we'll talk about this a little more in tying in from the high school, TCAT, Roane State, UT, all of those. It doesn't have to be either or. Right. Each one of those can supplement and add to the value of the individual student, and particularly giving you experience, so you're not just coming out of school with no experience at all.
Right.
You've had an opportunity and hopefully have set one of the main things that most employers tell us about is the fact that it's not the education, sometimes it's just getting the people to get there on time.
Yeah, with a want to attitude.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about TCAT and how that ties into the universities and colleges, community colleges, right after we get back. Okay, we're back for round two of the conversation with Dr. Holly Cross, and we're talking about the Tennessee College of Applied Technologies, TCAT. And I think it's important for us to try to put all these blocks in order. As the students come to the high school, and I remember my youngest daughter was introduced in a major fashion to graphic arts. And as I was looking at the over 24 different fields and more at TCAT, that from electricians to welders to nurse or healthcare professionals, mechatronics was one other one that I didn't know that was there. I was familiar with the mechatronics program at the community college, but didn't know that they were also doing that at TCAT. Now, for those that aren't aware, what is mechatronics?
Probably the easiest way to talk about that is machining or mechanical and electrical engineering. And it is a combination of electronics, pneumatics, and hydraulic systems. And so when we talk about mechatronics, we're really looking at things like car engines, airplane engines, robots, So many of the technologies that we use every day have electronics, pneumatics, and hydraulic systems in them.
Yes.
And so it's a big word that's like a mouthful, and a lot of people don't know, what is this thing? And so the easier thing probably the easiest thing for our kids to think about are robots, because we do FIRST Robotics. And so that class actually we have with dual enrollment. We've had it with TCAT Knoxville and also Roane State. A little bit different focus for each of those. At TCAT, we're looking at technicians who are repairing those kinds of systems. So they learn the skills to control and repair and troubleshoot on systems like that. And at Roane State with our robotics mechatronics systems, they're looking at building, designing a little bit more on the design front than the troubleshooting front. So, and then the engineering. So it's all a part of engineering. So you need to understand how these systems work together. And I often think about like a Rube Goldberg. So Rube Goldberg has simple machines in it, like levers and pulleys and things like that, that all have to work together. And a mechatronics system is like that, only it's not simple machines, it's the electronics, pneumatics, and hydraulic systems all trying to work together to do a function.
Good. That was so impressive to me, the variety of ways that a student could get at least the initial exposure to these particular areas. And if nothing else, by process of elimination, okay, I did that, like it, don't like it, want to continue, don't want to continue. It helps narrow the field, at least where, what types of things that do you think you want to do, and how soon can you get started. On our earlier show, we were talking about dual enrollment, and I thought the importance of TCAT, the different career fields, really does need to start or start again at middle school, and so that those students can understand just some of the basics, but at least be able to start having conversations, because majority of parents, I don't think quite grasp, because I know I'm having difficulty of the multiple means you have for dual enrollment. And it's helpful to start having those discussions 6th grade, 7th grade, so that get some sense of where a student's interests are, even if they're just thinking about it off the top of their heads, but at least be able to talk to someone or someone into the school. Is it possible to have representatives from TCAT go to the middle schools or something like that to help acquaint the students with the different areas?
Yeah, let me tell you a couple things that you touched on already. So we do offer industry certifications. So I mentioned it's a disservice to tell students you don't need any college. So for us to have a dual enrollment opportunity for them to earn a certification, we offer American Welding Society certification in welding. And several students have earned that. Several students have earned automotive service excellence in the automotive. And then additionally, we have things like Microsoft Office that count not only for certification, but they count for dual credit at Pellissippi and Roane State. So if you earn those Microsoft certifications, you can actually skip Microsoft classes at those schools. It's like a CLEP, like what we would call a CLEP exam in my day. And then as far as middle school, we have 2 instructors, Ed Wright at Jefferson and Randy Doss at Robertsville, who do a career exploration course for grades 5, 6, 7, and 8. And everybody gets those classes at least twice in their middle school career. And in those courses, they actually go through career like portfolio building, and they look at the types of careers they think that they would want at this stage in their life, and then what kind of education would it take to attain that. And then at TCAT of Knoxville, Quita Zur they have a counselor named Quita, and she goes out and she helps all the students dual enroll. But her predecessor, Harold, used to come into the schools and do some things like foresees soft skills training. So I could see asking Quita to come in and do something like that with our high schoolers and our middle schoolers. Because one of the things that a lot of our employers are telling us, to be college and career ready, students really need to know how to communicate and cooperate and think critically. Those 4 C's that we talk about all the time, those are some of the first things I hear from every employer's mouth. Show up on time, be engaged, want to be there, stay off drugs, and then be able to collaborate, communicate, think creatively and critically. So those are the types of things we're trying to infuse in our middle schoolers. But as far as specifically getting somebody from TCAT to come and speak to them, I think that would be a lot more impactful than them just seeing that on a chart like as an option.
Yes.
So I like that idea. We'll look into that.
That sounds like a great idea. The beauty of that is that doesn't limit a parent or a student from, if they wanted to go to the TCAT center or call and say, can we come and talk to someone in regards to what programs you have and how can my son, daughter, brother, sister, whoever, take full advantage of it. I think that is also open to any and all that want to investigate this a little further. And it's well worth the time and energy of the students, and it definitely prepares them to ask a lot better questions when they have the opportunity to talk to someone that's in that particular area, and what types of things do they need to do to properly prepare to take the necessary courses, and how long they may be, whether they're day, and you mentioned that there were night courses also. So I love the program that both the TCAT and the community colleges are doing to try to find wherever people are, what works for you, day classes, night classes, and how can you make the most of the tuition assistance that you're getting from the state, so that individual student can maximize their opportunity to continue to go to school, or most importantly, like you said, and I think that was great, where this is just step one. There are multiple steps you can take. The only thing that limits any student is your own desires to climb the educational ladder. And I wholeheartedly, and I know you do too, believe in lifelong learning.
Absolutely.
And in Oak Ridge, education is a really big deal for all of us, and rightly so. We've seen how it can uplift anyone to doing wonderful careers, making outstanding progress for themselves and their families. And so I commend you and the entire school system for making that a primary concern of every one of our people here.
Something you mentioned as far as like getting familiar with what you need to know for college, one of the things that's really interesting is the dual enrollment grant application is in the same space as the Tennessee Promise. So when the students enroll for their dual enrollment grant for high school, it's the same portal that they will be using if they also take advantage of the Tennessee Promise for 2 years of free college. So it also gives them sort of those habits of how do you enroll on the site, how do you sign up for the grant, and then how do you sign up for the Tennessee Promise and get your hours in and those sorts of things. So they're already in that space. And another thing you mentioned that I wanted to touch on, sometimes people say when you're talking about an AAS, well, we don't want to encourage our kids to do that because it's a terminal degree. And although that's a term that's been used, nothing's terminal, right? If you want to go out, for instance, we have cybersecurity as one of our options, and kids can make over $60,000 right out the door with a degree in that from Roane State. So it's by no means terminal, right?
Now, for AAS, as in Associates of Science or Associates of Applied
Applied
Science?
associate, well,
All
and
the above.
AAS.
Good,
Right.
good.
It's not a terminal degree. There's no such thing as a terminal degree. Keep on learning, like you said.
No, yeah. The main thing is as long as the desire is there, the opportunities are present. So never forget that. If you have doubts, ask. Ask teachers, ask principals, ask anyone here within the respective schools, parents, teachers, all the above. If we don't know, we know some people who do know. So we'll be glad to find that information out and make sure you get it, or at least point you at the very least in the right direction. Dr. Cross, I want to thank you for taking this time out of your busy schedule and to help inform the parents and teachers and also the students themselves of how important getting work experience is. And don't just get a job, find a career field, explore it, understand it, expand upon it. You may start with welding, you may end up mechanical engineer, mechatronics, or you may work in healthcare. All of those and so much more, along with pipe fitters and plumbers and electricians, all of those are just a few examples that are there for all of our students, and all of them offer great vocational opportunity for making a living or a start to a better and bigger life. So thank you very much. Glad we had this opportunity to share a few words, and we hope to see you again real soon. Thank you.